Alright, so this video is to demonstrate how mirroring works, and even though I'm using Maya, this can work in just about every software. So I've gone ahead and I've created a rectangle here to demonstrate or illustrate where the mirroring plane will be. So to describe this, we're going to be mirroring across the x-axis, but the mirror plane itself lies on the z and y-axis. So that's how I would describe this. So let's go ahead and create, let's say we're creating a character that, or a rig that is kind of like a Looney Tunes kind of arm with a glove at the end of it, and it's stretchy, right? That kind of thing. So let's say we're creating a character that's like that. So I'm going to go ahead and create just basically a something like this. And I'm going to make sure, of course, as always, that my pivots are looking good. And right off the bat, we're going to see that it is a Y-aligned rotation, or where the hinge is on each one of these, it's Y-aligned. So that's not necessarily recommended because, yeah, we know about our rotation order and how gimbal can happen. So let's just take a moment just to fix that. It's not too hard. So, of course, the primary axis, or if I scroll right over that, it says the joint orientation direction. So that means it is the x-axis that should be pointing down the joint. What it considers a secondary axis is basically, think of it as the first thing that you would rotate, which is, in my case, I put it to Z, right? Because we always want the third axis of rotation to be the one that we use for the first thing that we animate. And then it's going to be aligned to, in this case, the world's y-axis. And I'm going to apply that. You should notice that all of them except for one, always the nub doesn't get included. So there's actually now a tool in Maya that allows me to align one to another bone without, well, this tool won't be able to align that one. So I will simply shift select one that is currently aligned correctly. And I'm going to go into match transform rotation, match rotation. So now this bone is now, or joint is now aligned with its parent joint. So now we have a nice Z-axis alignment for all of these, and this is going to be an arm, so I'm just going to move this into place. And just eyeballing it at this point. It's like, this is just a test, all right? So we've got this arm that will have IK and a big boxing glove at the end of it. And let's say that we want to have another arm on the other side. So I'm just going to create a joint and set that to 0. This is going to be our root joint. I'm not going to go and bother with naming right now. So now I'm just going to select my root node from the arm and multi-select by pressing shift the root node of the rig. And now I'm simply going to press P, and then now we have an arm attached. But now we want this on the other side of this mirror. So I just select the first one in the arm, and we're going to go to make sure we're in rigging, and we're going to go to skeleton. And even though I have a button for this kind of stuff usually, we are going to mirror the joints. Make sure you bring out the options because we want to see what's going on. And the way the Maya tool works for mirroring is it's using basically the axis in which the mirror is touching. So even though we want to mirror across the x-axis, the mirror itself, the mirror that we have, will need to use the y and z as a point of reference with this tool. And right now we want to mirror in behavior. I'm not going to go into orientation right now. We're just going to mirror in behavior and see what happens. So now it should have created a identical setup that we have here on the other side. I'm going to close this, and we're just going to inspect this real quick. So one thing that you're probably thinking is, okay, so if this is my line for the mirror, then if Z's pointing in this way, well, the way a mirror works, it would be pointing in that direction, right? So it's kind of the reverse of what I was expecting. And if you look at the x-axis, which points down each one of these joints, and I look over here, it looks like it's pointing away, not down the bone. It's pointing away from the bone. So that's also in reverse. And if we, look at the y-axis here, if I were to mirror that, it would be pointing in the opposite direction again. So all three of them are in opposite directions. So that's not that's not an accident. That's on purpose, because the mirroring tool is designed in particular if you're using behavior, it's designed so that you can get a behavior, like let's say I grab these two and I go into rotation mode. The behavior will be what you expect, like the movement. Like if I'm doing a mirror pose, this is what I'm expecting it to do. This is actually behaving the way I would want it to behave. So the big deal here is that the behavior is what we want, but the actual alignment of the bones seem to need to be reversed completely. And if you remember the right-hand rule, and you put your thumb on each one of the axes and do a positive rotation or negative rotation, just be consistent, and then try it on the other side with the one that you would imagine would be the correct way of aligning, you should notice that it's going to behave in the opposite direction if you did that. So that's what the mirroring tool does. It basically said, I want the behavior to be good for mirroring, but that means that one side will have all of its axes in reverse. However, all of our rules still remain true. The x-axis is still pointing in the direction of the joint, albeit in reverse, and your z-axis is still going to be the first thing that you're going to rotate, and you've minimized how much of y you're going to use. So as far as our rigging rules go, we're still golden. We're good. It's just that it's not what we were expecting visually. Not that it matters, because our animation is what counts. So that's, and we understand by just looking at this, we understand that, okay, so the x-axis is pointing in the opposite direction, but I get where it's going. And the z-axis is definitely going to be the first thing that I'm going to use in order to rotate this thing, because if I was animating the arm, let's say punching, and I need to straighten it, it's all z-axis stuff, right? So it's still valid. And that's all you need to do for mirroring for the next assignment. Just make sure that one side is well thought out and that you've aligned everything correctly, and that the other side will inherit that logic, but with the reversal of axis to be able to allow you to animate with the right behavior. That's all there is to it.